My name is Matthew Vasquez. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. But my father, who was actually born and raised there, we grew up in the north part, which is San Fernando Valley. So not too much hype in that area. There's a lot of bad things going on. So my dad actually wanted us to move to Hawaii. It was a dream of his since he was young. So we actually came over, and he moved when I was 3, about turning 4. And then I kind of just hopped on a board with my dad, who was a longtime surfer in California when he was younger. And then I just kind of loved it, grew up trying to do that and just trying to switch boards, got a couple of my own. And then just from then on kind of like sprouted into what it is now. I don't have a lot of vivid memories of the mainland, which is unfortunate to me, but it's very nice growing up. It's very diverse, you know, and it felt at ease, you know. You didn't really have to worry about like being discriminated as much here. So it's nice to be able to just walk down a nice road, being able to figure out what you want to do in life without any distractions, I guess you could say. But really cool. And then I was around like the water every weekend when I was in elementary, and then same for middle school, you know. And so it was just very mellow and like a drastic change, you know, from what I hear from my dad. So okay, my board experience, first time I got a board, it was many years ago, but I was actually using my dad's boards that he had brought from the mainland. I believe he brought them from the mainland. We might have bought them here, but I was using like some 10-footers and like my dad would push me, and that would be the whole jam, you know, all day, just hopping on a board and my dad doing the whole motions with me. But I believe I got a couple of short boards when I was younger, since I was more light, right? So I was able to use those, and after that my first initial longboard, I guess you could say, would have been a soft top. It was an old yellow soft top. I think I totally forgot what company made it, but it was like an 8-foot soft top. It was like 4 inches thick, and like after that I realized they didn't even make them like that anymore. But it was my everyday board, and I would ride it here at Kapilani Park every weekend, you know. And then after that, we kind of translated to some shorter boards, messed around with that. In years to follow, another yellow board, which kind of I used also every day, every weekend I was here at Kapilani. And just, I started to get really comfortable with surfing and being able to do it on my own, you know, and being able to paddle out by myself and line up with my younger sister and kind of like instruct her. So that's probably when I first started getting into it and got on a board. About the Sandy's crew, I was around Waikiki a lot, so I was at the wall with friends occasionally, but my friend had given me a science bodyboard way back, so this is about 5 years ago now. And I got a science board, and I told my dad about it, and I kind of hopped on that and was going walls every so often because I was still surfing a lot. But I started to kind of like grow into it and like, wow, this is a cool different feeling. And so I'm gonna see how far this goes, and got a pair of fins, started going when there was swells, enjoyed that, and then that progressed into freshman year. Then freshman year summer, you know, there was a couple of guys in my school that would go to Sandy's, and so like, okay, what's all this about? You know, shore break wasn't my scene yet, so I decided to go and check it out. And I remember like going with a couple of friends real early in the morning. The sun was up already at like 5:30 on the east side, so it was chilly. Was heading out there, and it was only like 2-foot, 3-foot face. Like I remember being scared, you know, and just it slowly, progressively got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I tried more and more, and I got my own board. And then I started learning a little bit about Sandy's, you know, and then the crew there would just kill it when it was big, and like try to sit for the inside waves and probably catch like 5 to 10 waves a session when it was, because you would like only want to go on the small ones. But it grew more and more, and then I started to know a couple of guys, ask them questions. You know, Marcus Bijou is like a legend out there, and you know, he was one of the guys that made me really want to surf out there. And so just progressed, and then eventually I started getting more boards and like doing my research on the foams and everything and the channeling, and then it is what it is now. And like the crew is amazing. A lot of them are still there, It's a really nice like group of people. They're really close to each other. They hang out every weekend. But a really good scene, really good for your body, but really fun and different, pulling into a barrel on your stomach, you know? Being able to drive through and get just totally demolished, you know? So how I got to where I am today. So I've been surfing for years, but when people ask me how long I've been surfing, I tell them like about going on 15 years now, but what I would consider surfing, it was only about 4 years. So, you know, progressive surfing and like nose riding and actually like, you know, turning the tail and hitting floaters and stuff like that, it's only been about, you know, 3 to 4 years, maybe 3, closer to 3. So I just kind of was on that secondary yellow soft top, and I graduated, I guess you could say, from Kapiolani. I started to get a little bored of just catching waves and riding as long as I could, not doing anything. So, you know, and I was friends with Johnny from this area, and so, you know, I seen that he was going to Queens, and he would tell me about it when he would come back and stuff like that. So I would ask my dad, where's that? And so eventually I kind of made my way over, and I was still using the soft top. I would surf babies, and then I'd see Queens breaking, and I'd be like, wow. So I'd be called to kind of go out there. And then sure enough, I did. And I started understanding what it was really like to ride a wave. And then not to mention, they were really killing it. John was sponsored already. And, you know, it blew my mind that, wow, you know, one of my friends took off that fast. And so I seen them, and, you know, that bar was set in my head kind of subconsciously, like, oh, this is surfing. And, you know, I got to keep up with that, you know, if I want to hang around here. So nose riding and just high performance surfing was the thing. So I'd kind of like see John surfing, and so I'd be like, wow, what is this? And I try a little bit, but the soft top can only get you so far. So after that, I kind of reconnected with John a little bit, and then I kind of like asked him about boards, and like, if you ever sell a board, let me know, and things like that. And so one day he had one board for sale, and then I kind of contacted him on Instagram and things like that, and we kind of worked through it, and eventually I got that board, which was one of his high performance boards that he got from his shaper. And so that is like the first board that got me into progressive surfing. So that's kind of how it took off. Did I go anywhere exotic? I have not really. I'm from Cali, and I've been to the Big Island and just like Vegas, but nowhere like for surfing, you know? So I'm really anticipating that, and like I really would like to do that in the coming years. Yeah, so when I knew I was surfing and when I felt that first wave, that'd have to be Queens, you know? There was a lot of swells back at that time, and like it would actually break like just under head high, kind of like by Baby Queens, and it was unreal. So there was one summer that I can remember vividly that my dad took us, and we were surfing in the evening time, me and my younger sister. But just surfing those kind of waves and actually being able to draw a line and needing to get around a section was something different that over here didn't offer me. And so after, you know, dropping in and turning, it's a different feel of surfing. My dad calls it the wee effect, where you feel that speed, you know, when you drop into the face. And so it's very cool, and you know, you kind of just crave more of it, and then you wonder, you know, how many waves can I catch, or how big can I go? And so that was the next objective for me. Town is like, I'm here like most often, but I have ventured out to places like Puena Point, and I've surfed like Rocky Point's left on a longboard. I've been out to Mokuleia on like double overhead, but just, yeah, very different out there. And yeah, adventuring to the north side is definitely a different feel, but yeah, definitely a different drive too when you're in bigger conditions. So this is actually a board from Johnny himself, back when he was riding with Robin Johnston. It's a very high performance board. It's a 2+1 setup, so it's gonna be a performance board. I was riding just some plastic side bites at that time, Grom side bites, and then the Kai Salis 6.5 as a recommendation from John. And super good at maneuvering this board, and is very hard to learn nose riding on this progressive shape, but overall really fast board. Has a nice concave kind of like from the back third all the way through the nose, and then has some V in the tail for more rail on rail game. And then the dimensions are 9.0, 21 3/8 across, and 2 5/8, so a very narrow board. And eventually with time I had to move on because I gained some weight and I got taller, so I moved on to my next shape, which is the Glen Miyasaki. So another 2+1, I realized I really liked the high performance feel, but I did want to get something a little bit more buoyant, and this board was actually given to me by an uncle of mine. I had ridden it in the North Shore one time. We were all out there camping, and so he let me ride it. It's a 9.0 by 22, and then it's only going to be 2 3/4, but in the middle of the board, so nice paddling power. So a real big different jump from that board. And so again with the 2+1, this one is actually a 7 or a 7.5 inch fin in the middle, and the 2 side bites, so a little bit more stability on the turns, being that it's a heavier board. And so after learning how to nose ride on John's board, I moved over to this one and it was a lot easier. So this board inside is EPS, which I also forgot to mention, it's EPS on that one as well, so very light foam. And so it made for a really good high performance board, but I was really able to kind of like lock in my nose rides and grow a lot nose riding on this board. So very flat though, very flat on the nose and the tail, so really good gliding into waves and really good on sharp turns. So I really enjoyed it. And that moves to my next board, which is my actual current board, this is my current Glen Miyasaki. I fell in love with that board and decided, you know, I kind of wanted that one again, but just with a little bit of changes in it. So it was a little bit light for me. I wasn't really liking light so much anymore. So I decided what I was gonna do, which was come out a 1/2 inch, which made this board 22.5 inches across, and then I kept the same length, which is 9 foot, and the same thickness in the middle, which is 2 3/4. So it's a complete duplication except for that width, that 1/2 inch width, and then I switched to poly foam. So it's a little bit heavier now, so that way I can actually like have a little bit more stability and lengthy nose rides. So it kind of changed the dynamic, but everything else completely the same. I am still riding 2+1 till this day. So I have a future 7-inch cutaway fin, absolutely super cool. And then my fiberglass FCS1 side bites. I'm really in love with FCS, so it was really cool. And just same contour, really flat in the tail and the nose, and just super fun for any kind of condition. It's like my everyday board at the moment. I ride it every size and every break, no matter what, low tide, high tide, you know, overhead, or even 2 foot. So super stoked that Glen really duplicated it very well, and I'm actually planning to get a 9.2 from Glen hopefully this month. So stoked to see what single fin is like.